What if a car in a sunny city never made one wrong turn? It was June 1914 in a place called Sarajevo. An important man, an archduke, was riding in that car. In our world, his driver took a wrong turn down a small street. But what if he fixed his mistake? The car keeps going. The shot is never fired. The big war, World War I, never starts. Let's be clear, Europe back then was like a room full of gunpowder. Big kingdoms had secret friends and huge armies. Everyone wanted more power. The German, Russian, and British empires were all staring at each other. They were ready for a fight. The missed shot in Sarajevo was just one spark that never lit the fire. So what happens to the giant old empires? Think of the Austro-Hungarian and Ottoman empires. People called them the sick men of Europe. They were old and weak. In our history, the big war broke them into many small countries. But without a war, maybe they survive. They could slowly change, not suddenly break. Imagine them giving more power to the different people inside them. They might become big, peaceful family houses, not fields of battle. This is a huge change for the 20th century. The world map would look very different for a long time. The great European powers would keep their huge lands in Africa and Asia. These were called colonies. The war made those powers weak. Their colonies could then fight to be free. But in this new world, freedom might come much later, or in a totally new way. This change is about more than maps. It's about people. A whole group of young men died in the war. They were poets, artists, and smart thinkers. Without the war, they live. They write amazing books. They paint beautiful pictures. They discover new things. The whole 20th century would be full of their ideas. Now let's travel to a huge country. Russia. The Great War was very hard for Russia. It led to a big, angry uprising. This was the Communist Revolution, which changed everything. But without the war, that anger might not boil over. The Tsar, Russia's king, might keep his job. He would likely have to share his power. Russia could slowly become more like Great Britain, a country with a king, but also with laws made by the people. And what about Germany? In 1914, it was new, strong, and wanted to be a leader. Without the war, Germany is not beaten. It stays as Europe's most powerful nation. This makes it a rival to Great Britain. A peaceful race for new science and trade could begin. Now let's cross the ocean to America. The First World War is what made America a true world power. It sent its soldiers and money to help win. Without that war, America probably stays more to itself. It is still a giant, rich land, but it doesn't get involved in problems far away. The 20th century might not be the American century. It is nice to think this changed world is perfect. But is it? The bad ideas that caused so much pain were already there before 1914. Strong feelings of hating other countries, believing some people are better than others. The war did not create these dark thoughts. It just gave them a fire to grow in. And what about the United States? The Great War is what made America a big player on the world stage. It became a global superpower. Without the war, America likely stays more to itself. It would still be a very big and rich country, but it would not get involved in Europe's problems. Imagine an America focused only on its own lands. It would be a quiet giant, a powerful nation, but one that minds its own business. But is this peaceful new world a perfect world? Maybe not. The bad ideas that led to angry leaders and hate groups were already there. These ideas were like tiny seeds of anger. They existed before the war. The real war's ending treaty just gave them soil to grow in. Humanity's dark side might still find a way to rise. Now, let's think about technology. So many things we use were made better by war. Airplanes were new toys that became fighting machines. Tanks were invented to cross muddy battlefields. Doctors learned new ways to save lives because so many were hurt. Without the war, our progress would be very different. And here is the biggest thought of our journey. The 20th century we know was full of explosions. There were big wars and sudden changes. Empires fell apart overnight. New countries were born from fire and fighting. It was a time of fast and often violent revolution. But a world without that first big war is different. It would be a century of slow, careful change. A time of evolution, not revolution. The big idea is that history would move slowly, not with a sudden, fiery crash. This shows how one event can change everything. So, as we look back on our world today, we see it was built from the Great War. This war was World War I. Our countries, our tools, our ideas, they were all shaped in that fire. Everything changed because of the fighting. By imagining a world without that one gunshot, we see a totally different 20th century, a time of peace, but also of new questions. Life might have felt calmer, more steady. Big changes would happen over many years, not all at once in a big, sad war. The old empires might have learned to change. Kings and queens could have slowly shared power. Their lands might have become new kinds of countries. But was this peaceful world sure to last? Or did old problems just hide, waiting? The big countries still wanted more power. Maybe a different spark would light a fire. A new fight over land or money could start. Humanity still had its angry side. This what-if story shows us something important. Our world is not set in stone. One choice can make a new path for everyone. The 20th century could have been very different. A quiet century, shaped by a shot that was never heard.